I said to them, I said, look, I know you're here, okay? And I want you to know that I don't mind doing whatever it is I'm supposed to do. If I've got a destiny in life or a mission or whatever it is, I don't mind doing it.
I was being exposed at a very early age to the really totally dark side, a side of the occult world that most people don't even want to think about. I woke up one night, in the middle of the night, and I went totally ballistic. When I woke up, there was an entity in the room, and it was, I cannot tell you how evil the presence was to my spirit. Whatever it was that was in my room was so profoundly evil.
I said to them, I don't mind doing whatever it is I'm supposed to do.
I just felt this presence around me. Like when I was in a room alone, there was someone else there. And I remember sitting in the Kensington Hilton Hotel working for the BBC one night on the side of the bed, and I said to whatever, for God's sake, if there's something there, would you please contact me, because you're driving me up the wall.
The voices continued. They told David that he was the Son of God and that the world was about to be torn apart by natural disasters. David was panicked by these messages, and he sought advice from a psychic.
She starts telling me that I was going to be world famous, that I was going to go out on a world stage, face enormous opposition, and tell the story.
Let me get the story right. The press claim that you claim to be the Son of God. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
Yes, you see, the thing is that it's quite funny, really. You know, 2,000 years ago, had a guy called Jesus sat here and said these same things, you would still be laughing. It's really funny that we've not really moved on that much.
When may we expect tidal waves, eruptions, earthquakes?
When these things happen...
As they will?
As they will, my goodness, they will.
When is the first thing going to happen?
Well, it will certainly happen this year. The first sequence will begin this year.
What will happen if they don't happen? What will happen to you?
They will happen because if they don't happen, there will be no Earth.
They're laughing at you. They're not laughing with you.
Fine.
What I've heard you say sounds absolute lunacy to me.
Yeah.
And I still think you're soppy as a box of frogs.
Yeah.
David, thanks very much indeed.
If you had a brain, sell it with dire loneliness.
And the scores are teetering on the brink of being exciting. What with Paul and David with 6, and with Ian and Nick with 13.
We need a miracle, David.
Bless you, my child.
This water tastes a bit like wine, doesn't it?
Obviously, my family were, at the time, devastated, because, especially my children, because, you know, their dad was now a figure of ridicule. They were followed to school by journalists, or the kids at school took the mick mercilessly.
And I said to them, I said, look, I know you're here, okay? And I want you to know that I don't mind doing whatever it is I'm supposed to do. If I've got a destiny in life or a mission or whatever it is, I don't mind doing it. But if it has something to do with you, then I'm going to ask you for 2 favors. Do not abduct me, because I don't want to go anywhere. And don't frighten me in my bedroom. I don't want to wake up and find something in my bedroom I can't handle, okay? So don't mess with me, and don't scare me to death, and I don't want to go anywhere. But if I'm supposed to do something, if there's a divine plan of some sort where I'm supposed to play, then open the doors, show me what I am to do, and leave me alone. And I thanked them, and I got back in the car and drove back, and that was it. About a month later, now we're at the beginning of summer, I get a phone call from Paul, my publisher, who lived in Escondido, right down by San Diego. And he's telling me about this young lady who was a past life regressionist. And he said, you got to go see this girl. She's sensational. Being a very spiritually inclined past life regressionist type of person, she has you lay on the table and take your rings off and your watch, and she's setting up the candles and lighting candles and doing some sort of a little ritual thing. And I'm just laying there watching her. I mean, Paul says she's great. We'll find out. And she's talking to someone. And I'm laying there watching her, and she's talking to someone. And I said, who are you talking to? And she said, oh, I'm talking to your friends who brought you here. And I said, oh, okay. Brought me to your house? She said, no. Your friends who brought you to the earth. You've come here from another place, and they have brought you here to do something. I said, I've often wondered about that. Where did I come from? I mean, really, what am I doing here? And she says, well, and I'm just telling you what she said. She said, they are Pleiadians, and they have brought you here to do something. And you are ultimately going to be a emissary, was the word, an emissary for them. They're going to channel through you. They're going to use you, and they will speak through you. And they have been preparing you for many, many years. I said, oh, okay. I don't know. And then she goes on lighting some more candles, and then she starts talking again, and then she's laughing. And I said, what are you laughing at? And she said, oh, they told me something funny about you. And I said, what? And she said, they said that about a month ago you drove up to see Joe and Pat up at Little Alley Inn in a convertible you rented, and you sat on the back of the hood with your feet in the back seat, and you told them you didn't mind doing what you're supposed to do, but you didn't want to be abducted or frightened in your bedroom, and they thought that was funny. Now, at that moment, I became very disorientated. I said, whoa, nobody knew I did that. No one knew I did that. I didn't tell anyone. And she said, yeah, they knew. She said, they're telling me you went back out there because you didn't want to go out there at night because they scared you the last time. But that you went out there and sat on the back of your car, and they thought that was funny. And I said, why would they see humor in a human being frightened? And she said, because if you knew who you really were, that would sound kind of silly. And so I respected that. I am just telling you what she said. But to me, that was a very powerful emotional experience talking to her, because she told me things that no one could have known but myself.
I was being exposed at a very early age to the really totally dark side, a side of the occult world that most people don't even want to think about. Whatever it was that was in my room was so profoundly evil. I woke up and there was an angel. All I can tell you is it was a typical what you would vision an angel to be, with huge, beautiful wings glowing. But I could not see the face very well, and I realized the moment I saw it, it was neither male nor female. Instantly, I knew that. Mm-hmm. But it was a very powerful presence, a glowing kind of angel, for the lack of a better description. And it had a sword in his hand. It had a sword, but the blade was fire. It was burnt. You could hear the crackling fire. And the sword was pointed at my face. And so when I woke up, I saw the sword, which, was actually, the blade was fire, but it was pointing exactly at my face.
Oh, I'd yell too.
And I jumped up and yelled and jumped up, and my heart was pounding. And it stood there for a moment. It pulled the sword up, straight up over to its face, straight up, and it just stood there looking at me, and then it began to quickly disappear. So I started having, for a lack of a better term, otherworld experiences at a very early age, going out of my body. That was a whole off-the-wall experience, too, at 8 years old, 9 years old. One night when I was a small child, my dog woke up at about 5 o'clock in the morning. I woke up, my dog was howling and barking, and, of course, waking up the neighborhood. The dog had cornered a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a little small, about 2 foot high, or I would estimate about 2 foot high, full developed dinosaur. I actually, with my own eyes, saw 6 pterodactyls in Los Angeles.
My other uncle was a Catholic priest. One thing I do remember my dad saying all the time is that there's never been a political movement that wasn't a little religious. And there's never been a religious movement that wasn't a little political. Like my mother used to say, there's never been a political movement in the world that wasn't a little religious, and there's never been a religion that wasn't political.
I was being exposed at a very early age to the really totally dark side, a side of the occult world that most people don't even want to think about. I woke up one night, in the middle of the night, and I went totally ballistic. When I woke up, there was an entity in the room, and it was, I cannot tell you how evil the presence was to my spirit. Whatever it was that was in my room was so profoundly evil.
And I said to them, I want you to know that I don't mind doing whatever it is I'm supposed to do. I don't mind doing it.